Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, settle in, and let's talk today about something that does considerably more for the mind, the character, and the experience of being alive than most people realize when they begin. Learning a new language is usually framed as a practical pursuit. The ability to travel more easily, to communicate with more people, to expand professional options. These are real benefits, and they matter. But they sit on the surface of something deeper, and it is the deeper thing that tends to stay with people long after the initial motivation has been left behind. Because learning a language does not only teach you words, it teaches you something about yourself, about how you handle difficulty, about what you are actually capable of, and about the world being far larger and more various than any single language is equipped to fully contain. The first thing language learning does, and one of the most consistently undervalued gifts it offers, is return you to the experience of being a beginner. Most adults have carefully arranged their lives to avoid incompetence. They have built expertise in the areas that matter to them, developed confident fluency in the contexts they regularly inhabit, and structured their daily experience so that the feeling of not knowing what to do is relatively rare. Then they sit down with a language course and discover that they cannot reliably produce a simple sentence. Words evaporate. Pronunciation betrays them. Grammar that seemed clear in the lesson disappears entirely when needed in practice. They are, unmistakably and without escape, a beginner, and the discomfort of that tends to be both more pronounced and more useful than they expected. The Zen concept of Shoshin, beginner's mind, describes the quality of openness and genuine curiosity that belongs to someone who does not yet know how something works. It is the quality most natural to genuine learning and most easily lost through accumulated expertise. Language learning enforces it. It is very difficult to maintain the illusion of competence while struggling to remember how to say, "Where are you from?" And in being stripped of that illusion, something becomes available. The particular aliveness of genuine engagement with something that has not yet been mastered. The quality of attention that only genuine uncertainty produces. This is not comfortable. It is also one of the most nourishing experiences available, because it is the experience of actually growing rather than simply reinforcing what was already known. There is also something that happens when you learn another language that has no equivalent in other kinds of learning. You gain access, partially but genuinely, to another way of seeing. Every language is not simply a different code for the same underlying concepts. It is a different structure of attention, a different organization of the world's available features into categories and relationships. Some languages have words for experiences that others have no words for at all. The Japanese word for the particular quality of light filtering through leaves. The Portuguese saudade, a specific kind of nostalgic longing that is not quite sadness and not quite wistfulness. The Danish hygge, a quality of cozy, convivial warmth that has no direct English equivalent. Each of these words names something real, something that exists in human experience, and that speakers of the language are more able to notice and share precisely because they have a word for it. Learning a language gives you access to these distinctions, which means it gives you access to aspects of experience that were previously unnamed and therefore largely invisible. The Taoist concept of expanding one's understanding of the world through genuine encounter with what is genuinely different applies here directly. The world looks larger and more various from inside two languages than from inside one. Assumptions that seemed inevitable about how relationships are described, how time is experienced, what aspects of reality are grammatically required to be noticed, become recognizable as assumptions rather than facts. The humility this produces is not weakness. It is the beginning of genuine understanding. There is also the relational dimension, which deserves its own acknowledgement. When you speak to someone in their native language, even haltingly, even imperfectly, with apologies for the grammar and genuine effort despite the errors, you communicate something that perfect fluency in a shared second language never quite manages. You communicate that you considered their experience worth the difficulty, that you tried to meet them where they are rather than requiring them to meet you where you are. Most people respond to this with a warmth that is not available through any other route, because it is earned differently and means something different. Connection made through the effort of a borrowed language has a particular quality, something of the vulnerability of having tried and the generosity of having been received despite the trying. What language learning also builds, quietly and cumulatively across months and years, is evidence. Evidence that difficult things can be done through patient, faithful, imperfect accumulation of small progress. The person who becomes conversational in a language did not achieve it through a single act of will or a sudden breakthrough. They did it through thousands of small engagements. Words looked up, mistakes made, corrections absorbed, conversations attempted in the uncomfortable middle ground between knowing nothing and knowing enough. The confidence this produces is durable in a way that confidence from less demanding achievements is not, because it was built from genuine difficulty genuinely worked through. As we close today, whether you are currently learning a language, considering it, or somewhere in the middle of the frustrating plateau that most learners hit around the 6-month mark, I want to leave you with this. The vocabulary is the visible part. What is being built underneath it is patience, resilience, genuine humility, and the particular kind of self-knowledge that only comes from doing something difficult over a sustained period of time without giving up. Every word is also a small piece of evidence about what you are capable of, and that evidence accumulates into something worth having. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.